And the Lord said unto Moses, Go, get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and worshipped it, and sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
So, that's a smack in the Most High face, man, for them to do that. And it's a smack in the Most High face for us to make statements like, man, if it wouldn't be for the white man coming over there and bringing us in to eat, bringing us over here, we would never know who Christ is. Man, I'm telling you, if it weren't for civil rights, man, we wouldn't have anything in this country. Man, I tell you, man, I tell you, I'm so glad, man, for civil rights. I'm so glad for affirmative action. What is that saying to the Most High when we make statements like that? Today's lesson, too much is given, much is required. Verse 9.
And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people.
Verse 10.
Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation.
And what did Moses say to them, verse 11?
And Moses besought the Lord his God, and said, Lord, why does thy wrath wax hot against thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand?
So go down to verse 14 and say what Moses said. The Lord said to Moses.
And the Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. And Moses turned and went down from the mount, and the two tablets of testimony were in his hand, and the tablets were written on both their sides, on one side and on the other were they written. Okay,
so we see here right here, that God that they always say that didn't show no mercy, didn't show no grace. They went and did the exact opposite thing that the Most High told them not to do. But because Moses pleaded on their behalf, the Most High said, you know what? I'm going to spare them. And many of you have no idea that some of your pastors is keeping harm from coming to you. Some of your leaders, some of your parents and your grandparents. You don't even realize the people that are praying for you, how they have kept things from coming to you. Today's lesson is entitled, Too Much is Given, Much is Required. Now, for the sake of time, where are we at right now? All right. So for the sake of time, we're just gonna give you some precepts, and then we're gonna go right back into the law, right back into the Word. If you go into Numbers 11 chapter, you will see there that the people, children of Israel, begin to complain about the provision that the Most High was giving them. They begin to complain and say, you know, back in Egypt, man, we had vegetables and we had meat, man. We were good, man. We had all these things, as if the Most High didn't want to give them to them. And so Most High said, okay, I heard your words about you complaining how good you had it in Egypt. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send some quails your way, and for the next 30 days, I'm going to make sure that you have all the quail that you need. But you know what they did? They began to go out and just gather all these quails like the Most High wasn't going to do what he said he was going to do for the next 30 days. And so what Moses did, you know what he did? He forgave them. Even though they went and questioned what he was going to do, what he said he was going to do. You go to Numbers the 12th chapter. Miriam, Moses' sister, and the people begin to rise up against Moses and say, you know, why is he the leader? Why is he chosen over us? Questioning what the Most High has said about who was supposed to be in leadership. And instead of destroying them then, he showed mercy again. You go to Numbers the 13th chapter. You write these down and go read them back in your own time. You go to Numbers the 13th chapter. The Most High told Moses, said, get a spy from each tribe, send it over into the promised land, and just go take a look at what I'm about to do for you guys. And when at the end of that, Numbers the 12th chapter, Numbers 13, the Most High, go to Numbers 14, go ahead and get that. And when they went over there at the end of Numbers the 13th chapter, they came back and the Bible said they gave what the Bible calls an evil report and said that they wasn't able to get it. Even though the Most High had told them that this land is yours. Even though he had promised it to Abraham, told the elders that he was going to do it, brought them out of Egypt, brought them out of all the things and told them, listen, I'm going to give you this land. But they came back and 10 of them said, yo, we can't do it. We don't have what it takes, even though they had the Most High. Now, go to Numbers 14 and read verse 1 for them. What happened after they came back.
And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in the wilderness?
Now, all the things that the Most High had done for them, they still didn't believe him. You know, these are the people that saw the Red Sea split. Okay? This is not a new people. This is the same people that saw the Red Sea split. This is the same people that were slaves one night and left out of there to be left out of there with gold, silver, all kind of treasures. Still questioning the Most High. Verse 3.
And wherefore hath the Lord brought us out of this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt?
Look at that saying. Still talking about Egypt. And some of you are doing the same thing. The people are coming to you like, listen, man, you need to get into the church, you need to get into the Bible, you need to submit to Christ, you need to get back to the law, you need to keep the statutes and commandments. And like, man, I was doing better when I was selling dope, man. I was doing better, man, when I was up here doing, look, man, I had it way better, man, when I was in the world, man. I had way more fun. You ever hear people give testimonies? And they talk so enthusiastic about the life that they was living when they was in the world. And then as soon as they get to the part where they're in Christ in the church now, the countenance falls and they go back, you know, now I gave my life to God. So I just go to church now. It's really sad that people really believe that they were better off outside the Most High. And this is what they believe. Once again, too much is given, much is required. They had been chosen to be a special people above all, got the law, statutes, and commandments, walking with Christ, walking with the Most High, him feeding them manna and bringing water out of rocks, all these things that he ain't doing for nobody else. And they still saying, man, I was better off when I was a slave. Verse 4.
And they said unto one another, Let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt.
How you think that made the Most High feel? See, when people sit back and talk about the wrath of God, they never talk about these things that we actually did as a people. It's just like only telling stories about the whoopings you got as a child, but never talking about the things you did to earn the whooping. Making it seem, painting your parents in a light like they was abusive when you didn't say about all the stuff that you did. And this is what the church does when they talk about the wrath of God and that he ain't no grace and we just under grace now. Now they're realizing as a nation of Israel how much grace we had the entire time. Go down to verse 27.
How long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard these murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me.
Verse 28.
Saying to them, As truly as I live, saith the Lord, as ye have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. Doubtless ye shall come unto the land concerning which I swore to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joseph the son of Nun. But your little ones which ye should be prayed, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised.
So since you don't believe it, since you think you're going to die in the wilderness, all right then. That's what's up. We say your kids, the little ones that don't know no better, I'm not going to make them pay for you. They're going to get the land. They're going to get all the promises. And when he talked about Joseph there and Caleb, remember I told you in Numbers 13 that there was only 2 out of the 12 spies who said that they could get it. Caleb and Joseph got in. Joshua got in. All the other 10 spies didn't make it. Anybody that was older than 20, you didn't make it. If you didn't believe, you didn't make it. And this is how they ended up in the wilderness for 40 years. Too much is given. Much is required. So now we see here, this is how they end up spending the time in the wilderness. This is how they end up spending, not going straight into the promised land when the promised land was already ready for them. But yet the Most High is still operating in grace and mercy with his people because he loves them. So let's fast forward a couple thousand years, 1,000 so years, hundreds of years. And let's go to First Kings. No, let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's fast forward about 100. No. Matter of fact, we're going to give them this before we went into the land. Go to Deuteronomy 8. They need to see this. Then we're going to get after they get into the land. And I hope this is resonating with you. Because I don't want you to just see how our fathers failed. I want you to look at it and put yourself in these situations about how many times the Most High came to you and gave you chance after chance, but you still went back to the club. You still went back to fornicating. You still went back to drunkenness. You still went back to vulgarity. You still are watching these things on TV. You're still pumping this music and letting your kids learn future and don't know Christ. After all the times he done delivered you. You got to see yourself for this. This lesson today is a self-examination of who we are as a people. Too much is given. Much is required. You got to stop saying, man, the white man, the Ku Klux Klan, Donald Trump. No, it's us. We are not a oppressed people. We are a fallen people. Deuteronomy 8, give me verse 1 there.
All the commandments which I command thee this day shall be observed to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which the Lord swore to your fathers.
So this is now, after the 40 years has happened, right? And this is the children of those fathers who said, we can't get the land. So they've all died in the wilderness. So these are the children now that are coming. They're right here in the land. They're getting ready to go in. And Moses is telling them now, listen, all the commandments that your fathers didn't do, it's time for you to get it done now. Verse 2.
And they shall remember all the way the Lord thy God led these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no.
So that's what the purpose of it is for. And a lot of times you may be asking yourself, why is my blessing taking so long? Why is my deliverance taking so long? And what the Most High is trying to prove to you is not only that you can trust him, but he's trying to see, can he trust you? So for some of you that are been waiting for a long time on your business to start, or waiting for a long time for your ministry to grow, or waiting for a long time for you to get that house, or to find that wife, or to find that husband, it's because the Most High is trying to humble you so that you can realize it's about him and not about yourself. Verse 3.
And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord. So
you hear Christ quoted that in Matthew the 4th chapter, verse 4, when Satan tried to get him to turn the rock into stone. And he said, listen, man, I don't live off just food, bro. I live off every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. So this is what the Most High was trying to get them to see. That yeah, you need food, yeah, you need water, but more importantly, you need my word, because if you got my word, you will always have food and water. I remember our parents taught us when we were little. We were very little. We didn't go to church. We really didn't have a home that was following Christ. But this is what they told us when we was little. He said, you always say your prayers before you go to bed at night, and you pray over every meal. And he said, if you pray over every meal, you will always have food to eat. And then in a day in our life, my brothers and sisters can attest to this. Even though our family was living outside of the will of God, even though we grew up and started living outside the will of God, there ain't never been a day we ain't had no food. Because we was praying, and we knew that everything that we were getting was coming from the Most High. Even though we wasn't doing what we were supposed to be doing. We did give him that, and he made sure we always had food. Verse 5. Verse 4.
Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years.
So he said, listen, the whole time you was in the wilderness, you didn't run out of clothes. Your clothes never tore up. Your foot didn't swell, even though you was walking in the wilderness all the time. You didn't twist your ankles, or you know what I'm saying? And you went out here, your shoes didn't fall apart. Them Timbs was still fresh. Them Air Force Ones was still white. Right? No scuffs on the Timbs. Them white on whites still fresh the whole time in the desert. That's what he telling them. And I know some of you can attest to this. The things that you got, they might not be the fashionable things, but you still got them. Somehow, way the things is staying together. But that's what the Most High does. Verse 5.